also dialogue was, kind of to Ethan Hawke and Denzel is there. It's like, well, can I get you for something to eat? And he says, sure. She brings it over and she says, excuse me. And then she goes. It's like non-eventful dialogue, but we made it eventful. We want to create an impact. So here's the thing I always say to actors. This is a really important point, and I don't make it enough. And that's what I knew that like these people would be like. They were to be stars. There was just no question.
Do you want to know what it takes to level up your acting? Do you make really hot choices in your acting? Do you rehearse where you find those hidden gems so when you give a performance, you just stand out above everybody else? Well, today we are talking with Ivana Chubbuck, the one, the only amazing Ivana Chubbuck, who I love so much. And she's going to break it all down for you. So get ready. I'm Lydia Nicole, and this is Acting Smarter Now. First of all, I just want to brag on you, my friend. I am so proud of all the work you have done. You make it look easy, but you have put your heart and soul into it. And so I just want to say to the audience, this is Ivana Chubbuck. She is the mistress of acting. We love her so much. I just want to show you this book. This book is in its 20th year. Next year, a revised copy will come out, along with what I've been waiting for forever is the audio. I'm just too excited about looking for the audio. So let me just give you a little rundown before I go into Ivana. And that is, this book has been translated in 20 languages. So I have my list. I'm going to read it because it is so many. So it's been translated in Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, Australian, Turkish, Russian, English, German, Danish, Israeli, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Mongolian, Greek, Mandarin, and Slovakian. I also want to talk about the schools that she has around the world. She's got accredited teachers. Ivana is no joke at all. So let me just go through the list because I have to. I was so impressed when I read this. She's got classes and schools in Belgium, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Serbia, Slovakia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, Ukraine, UK. Did I miss any?
Oscar, Russia.
Look at that. So it's 28. I counted it, but we were missing one. So first of all, I want you to know I read this book again. And this time when I've been in your class, I've done this, the 12 steps. I know the 12 steps. But when I read it this time, what came to me was the art of war, the strategy and the weapons to go into combat for acting. That's what kept coming, because as I was reading, I kept winning, overcoming, going, not staying in the feelings, but going for what you want. I loved what you said in the book that says a winner is not someone who wins. It's someone who tries to win. A loser accepts defeat. And this really stood out for me as far as the art of war. It's like you got to go for it. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has told you that, but that's what kept showing up in the book for me, as well as spirituality, the spirituality of it. So can you tell me, when you first sat down to write this book, what was your original intention?
There's an involvement here. Originally, I had written something just for the class, that was at the time 14 steps at only 20 pages. But it was not for any other purposes, but to be a guide so people had an actual guide. Then what happened was I decided as I was gaining more and more information, it became another book just for class that was 42 pages. And because I was adding more, and it was still 14 steps. And what happened was people started calling me from different parts of the country saying, we've seen this book, we want this book, how do we get this book? And since it wasn't like, it was just really set up for my classes. And I got a call from Samuel French saying, we'd like to sell your book. Is that possible? So that I had an outlet to have people get the 42 pages. Then what happened was there was just so much more, and I decided to write the big book. And then I got the beautiful part of all this was I got an agent. At first I spent a couple of years just writing the text of it, and which was a process of rewrite. And then we got it to, I found an agent, and the agent got it to 7 of the best publishing companies, and there was a bidding war of 5. And so the one that won was Penguin Books. And then they had their notes, and that was another year of writing, and rewriting. So anybody who thinks anything is easy, that it just kind of pops off, it's like it takes hard work and taking chances, because I took a while for me to do all of this stuff. And I always made appointments with myself to be able to, from 6 in the morning till 10 in the morning, I would be writing the book, no matter whether it was on vacation or it didn't really matter. That was the time set aside to do it. And then ultimately, after all that, the book came out, and it ended up being on the bestseller list. And so but again, I can't stress enough. The whole point is not the journey of that. The whole point is how much hard work it took, how many times I tried new things out with the class. And I said, these things, they were working. I would add to the book. I changed it from 14 steps because it just seemed unwieldy to 12 steps. I just kept adding things from what I was learning from class, and also testing from the class to see what would work and what wouldn't work. So it's the same concept of, like, if you want to be a famous actor or a respected actor, I think more importantly, because fame will come with all that. It's not an easy road. It's a road that you have to work hard. You have to take chances. You have to, like, believe that you can do that, that the people that have said you can't do it, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not connected enough, you're too old, whatever the things that people say that stop people from doing things, is you can't. I think the message of this book is more not what's in it, but the journey of, like, how I got there. Because I didn't say no. I had a lot of no's, and a lot of people who said, forget about it, and we don't need your book, and on and on and on and on. And I've never ever, like the winning concept you were talking about earlier, is that I I was trying to win. I ultimately did end up winning, but I didn't know that was going to be the case. All I knew was I was never going to let anybody get in my way and stop me from getting what I wanted, and what my dreams was to spread the word of empowerment through the arts. Now, what's interesting, I'm going to add one more thing, is the emotional component to this. It's like I grew up with a mother who told me that I was stupid. She also told me that I was ugly. She also told me all kinds of things that made me feel like I couldn't do um, none of the things that, like, that I wanted to do with my life were possible, and just give up the ship. That's not just going to happen. And that, for all intents and purposes, called me a loser, but didn't use those exact words, but the implication was very clear. And so it was because of that this whole system was born. It's like, I'm going to win in spite of you and because of you. So it's going to give me, like, screw you for thinking that I can't do it, because I'm going to prove you wrong. But more importantly, because you said I couldn't do it, I'm going to, like, do it, and be the one at the top of the mountain going, ha 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 ha, who got the last laugh on this one. And so it's like, and then there was all, of course, all the like the abuse that I had to endure, from physical abuse to emotional abuse from my mother and a father who, as wonderful as he was a wonderful man, but he didn't protect his family because he was busy changing the world. Civil rights attorney, a National Labor Relations Board executive, making sure that people created unions for people that needed them. He was a good man. I mean, I feel like I'm carrying on his work, of empowering the world through, in his case, the law, in my case, through art. But he still didn't protect the family. So the bottom line is this book is for all those people that feel the same way I do, that there's someone out there or many people out there that said, you can't. And my book says, yes, you can.
There's so much to unpack here. The first thing is the title, the power of the actor. I mean, as actors, we walk around feeling powerless.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you about that title first. What inspired you, or it's what inspired you or provoked you to say this is the title of this book?
There's a lot of titles that were floating around. I don't remember what they were. It's just been 20 years, but the idea that power is such a powerful word. And so I didn't want to have a lot of words. I want to make it very easy for people to understand. You have the power to accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish, and to be whoever you want to be. And it just seems like a really easy way to make that statement. So it pops out. And the colors, the red that's there is a power color. And so the new book has a lot more red to it. It's more red. It's a powerful color. And I made a big deal about that to the publisher. I said, so now the book, the cover, has, I think, power of the actor is in red, so it's like really juts out at you. And the the idea is it's that we have an obligation as artists, whether we're actors, directors, writers, is that to change the world through the arts, that to empower the world through the arts. And we live in a very divisive world right now. Now, and some of the things that I studied in school was cultural anthropology, the history of culture, which is the history of mankind for all intents and purposes, very usable for all those things that people have to play time periods or different cultures. And also psychology, which is like why we do the things we do, and behavioral science, which is the science of behavior, which is very important because we see before we hear. So all those things were like actually what I studied in school, not acting. And uh, and so that to me was more of a powerful statement to make about let's recreate human beings in the most effective people who are most effective and dynamic. Let's create dynamic people, not just people. Not just truth isn't enough. Let's create being a force to be reckoned with, a force that cannot be denied. And that's what I wanted people to feel, and the power of the actor helped explore that. But also in the writing of it was I want to keep giving people permission to know, you know what, we have more people have go watch movies and television than go to church, than have political affiliation, who have like cultural differences and all that. It's like the thing that we need to make sure that everybody knows is we have a pulpit that is bigger than any other platform. And we have the obligation to, through our choices as actors, writers, and directors, to make people feel as they're watching it subliminally that we're empowered to change our own personal lives.
Your father um, gave to the world. That
Mm.
DNA is in you, and you've been giving to the world. And what I was just thinking about, because when I was getting coached by you, it was almost 40 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
almost 40 years ago. You were in the valley on Tahunga, and
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
then you were on Houston. And so for me, being able to read this book and seeing how you evolved, how you just really became an empire. It,
Mm.
you are an empire. You know, you are probably one of the most prolific acting teachers in our century. You know, you had Uda Hagen, you had Stella Adler, and you have Ivana Chubbuck.
Wow.
And I get goosebumps because I know not everything, but I know some of the difficulties that you went through, the challenges being a woman, fighting the good fight. That I keep coming back to your father's DNA is in you, in that and it is a spiritual, it is, to me it feels spiritual. It's like your background, though it's not similar to mine, it's very similar to mine. Abusive mother who they didn't get to live their dream, and so they took it out on the kids. You know, my mother was a prostitute. We grew up on welfare. She beat us. She would take out her frustrations on us. When you said your mother calling you stupid and all these things, it reminded me of I I was verbal. You were a writer when you were a kid, but I was verbal. When my mother said, I should have had an abortion, I said, well, why didn't you? And so I just gave it back to her. And what I always felt as a little kid was that God put me here for a time such as this, for a reason. And as I was reading the book again, as I was listening to your interviews, I was like, yeah, the devil was trying to take you out at a young age. Whether you believe in the devil or not, the devil was trying to take you out. It was like, if I could just beat you and make you feel less than, and not do what God created you for, however you believe in God, and not do it, then the devil's won. But your spirit, your tenacity, your fight, especially being a woman, I don't think people understand the gravity of it. Is like, we didn't come from the Me Too movement. We came from the Shut Up movement. Be seen and just keep going. And so just to see
Shut
how,
up and take it. That's the shut up and take it movement.
and to see how you persisted and you kept going in spite of the no's. I just want to give you your flowers for that, because it is so difficult for a woman in the business, especially when you started, when you came through the ranks. Nobody was opening the doors for you. Nobody was like, come on, Ivana, let's go. And so for me, this is really personal, because first of all, I love your courage. You make us actors feel courageous as well. You said something. I was listening to something, and you talked about taking that shame that you had as a kid and using it, reframing it to empower you. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. And it's so funny, we read what we want when we're at a certain state, and when I was reading this book, when I was gleaning from it, I can tell you half of the book is all written and stuff, and then the other half I'd left it alone, and I just stayed on the 12 steps, and I just stayed on that stuff. But reading it again, it had a different um it had a different meaning because of life. Just looking at how you crafted the book. So I don't. I see you want to say something, so go ahead. But I just want to say that to you.
Important is that it's not just my mother that was abusive. It's like I had my first husband was very abusive. I mean, I just repeated my mother's stuff and men. And then the next guy was abusive, and the next guy, and the next guy. And it was just like, it got to be enough. And this is when the technique started to really start to form, because I was going, enough of allowing people to see that that abuse is my norm, and that is what is acceptable, and that is not acceptable. And I can't change, and I always explain this to people, you can't change the past. I can't change that they didn't do this. I can't change that I didn't grow up with abuse from many different people coming at me, because I attracted that because that's the evil that I knew. And but the thing is that I said no more. I can't do this anymore. And so as an actress, this is where it began. It's like, I need to start, I can't change the past, but I could see it differently. What causes me shame, what causes me a feeling of being stupid and being a fool about accepting this behavior from other people is actually my gold. It's the stuff that I can use as my colors to try to win with. It's my pain is a very powerful, my pain, universal me, is a powerful fuel to overcome and win with. It's also a powerful fuel to self-destruct and to feel sorry for yourself and to be defeated. So it's a choice. Life's a bunch of choices. The choice is, you can either make this the same information as something you win with, overcome and win with, or it's something that you sit in your stuff and you accept it as being, that's just the way it is, and that's the way it always has been, and that's the way it's always going to be. And so my job, my legacy, I feel, is not so much for actors, writers, and directors, and for the entertainment industry, but it's also for people to say, like, if it works for your character, if it works to feel, if it feels good to be empowered to win with your pain as in terms of the arts, it feels good too to do it in your actual life, and it kind of bleeds into your life as you're exploring it as an artist. And you're, and I found so many people have had so much a change in their life because they felt empowered, the power of the actor, empowered by the journey of embracing the pain, the trauma, the stuff that's happened to us as what makes us it makes us a powerful people, because we're survivors. I mean, what's more great than, like, I'm a force. I'm a force because I was forced to be. So I need to be able to change that because I had the power to do so, or not. That was my choice. And I made the choice to do that. So thank you for giving me the kudos you've given me. It makes me feel like somebody's noticing. But my whole issue of, like, how I teach is, I just don't think that people learn as well when they're worshiping. So I make sure that people, I'm not a guru. I'm not someone that you should look up to. I'm someone who's have experienced the same things you've experienced in one way or another, the human condition, and I want to do something about it. I'm expecting you to do the same through my example, and then also through, I get revelations every time I teach about my life and the things that I need to do. So this is symbiotic. This is synchronistic.
But that's what makes you such a great teacher. It's not that your classes are filled with people going gaga over you, but it's filled with people who see you as the leader. You're lighting the way for us, right? You're just saying, hey, it reminds, not that this is it, but it reminds me of Harriet Tubman saying, come on this way, we're going this way. And that's what it reminds me of. It's not so much, you're on a pedestal, and please, I'm not putting you on a pedestal, but I'm just saying that what you offer allows the actor to raise up because of your courage to go, okay, I can expose myself. I can share my pain. I can be secure in saying, you know what, I had shame about this, or oh my God, I was beaten to a pulp, or some guy put me out to prostitute or whatever, and go, how can I turn this into a win? What How powerful is that, to give somebody that kind of tool? I read, I heard you talking about, in Russia, this book is used as a self-help book. And I thought, that's perfect. How perfect is that, that you have, that these tools actually transfer to anyone who does anything. And so I just wanted to point that out, because you're not a guru, but you are an incredible, caring teacher who
Yeah.
loves the student,
Yeah.
and I would say this too, you don't have favorites, which I really like, because whoever comes to the stage is your favorite at the moment. It's not, you don't turn around and fawn over certain students. I appreciate that, because
Mhm.
I got issues about that. But anyway, go ahead. So anything you want to add to that?
Well, I just feel like the favoritism thing is star, like this person has worked more, or this person is a star or whatever. But I see everybody, we're all in this together as people that have, the reason why most people are in this business is because they've suffered some pretty strong pain in their lives. So we're all in this together. And I feel like if you can expose yourself through your work and the things that have in the past caused you shame, is bravery, and bravery is sexy. There's something just so powerful and sexy about somebody that's brave. And so bravery, I think it takes more bravery to expose what's really happening in your heart, and it makes you feel vulnerable, than it does to cross 10 buses on a motorcycle and to climb Mount Everest, because it's scary to expose that stuff, because you're allowing people conceivably to destroy you with that same information. But that's because you've been destroyed before by it. Doesn't mean that you have to make the choice that it's going to continue. And I got to tell you, from talking about myself and very, very, down and dirty my stuff all over the world, I have people coming up to me and thanking me, said, I don't feel so all alone anymore. And so the new book has even more stuff about my stuff, which is because I feel like it was more to share, because in 20 years, a lot more has happened. A lot more, things have gone on that have caused me, um, some trauma, and like, and the issues that as my daughter gets older, because she was a little girl at the time, there's only so much, but as she gets older and she's dealing with all her stuff, and then my husband's death, and the issues that why he died and all that, is there's just like all this new things have happened. I mean, like, think about life. Like, in 6 months, so much can change. Now imagine the 20 years of that. So there's a lot more in the new book that will be, and there's a lot more new things that I have that I've added, because there's a lot more new stuff I'm doing. Now, when I do these workshops around the world, they know the new stuff, because I'm doing it with them, and I'm doing it with the classes here. But in terms of the people who just only have the book, the new book will include all the new things that I've been doing, all over the world, and how I've been discovering a lot of this stuff by doing workshops all over the world. But the most important part of the worldwide tours that I go on, and I'm really all over, every month I go to a different country, is that everybody's the same. And the questions I get asked by the press is like, how is our culture or people different? And I say there's nothing different. Everybody everybody has the same issues of abandonment or issues of feeling not good enough, or feeling like they have fraud, or feeling like they're misunderstood, or molestation, or issues of being falsified by a parent, or and like just some normal human stuff. And I think the difference is how we manifest these problems and issues that everybody has is what creates culture. So what happens in terms of the culture is inconsequential to me, because the bottom line is we need to make sure that everybody who's watching us, or watching the film that you've directed or written, and they're saying, I get it, and it doesn't really matter that you are from that country to understand it, because if you, I always go base human realities, human needs, human primal needs that come from childhood issues, basic psychology information. And and then how is it that if I don't speak your language or have your culture, but I still relate to it, I still cry in the right places and laugh in the right places. And how do we do that? Is by exploring it from its deepest, most primal level of just human behavior, the human experience, not the cultural one. So I think that, and I found that I always kind of knew that from school. However, to know that it really is so, given the examples of going to country after country after country, from the Asian countries to the, to ones that are European, to South America, to Australia, Canada, all over the damn place. So, but they all have different cultures, but they don't, but they're, and they say, I talk to them exactly the same way. I reveal the same stuff that I've experienced. I said, me too. I have so many me too's with people. It's like, oh my God, that's my story too. And then we're all like, even though there could be 300 people in the group, it's like there's a bunch of going, like, me too, me too. Like a lot of people going, me too, me too. And so it's like I feel like our globe as artists is small. Our planet is small. There's no geographical boundaries. We are one people's artists, are one peoples that exist on this planet. And then I'm going to say that maybe in the future we'll find out in other planets we have some more of the same science. Maybe
My Martian brother and I are the same.
that guy from Neptune is like, we both know that. So it's so yeah, so the thing that's the thing I love about what I do is because we are one planet. We aren't, we don't have geographical differences. We don't have religious differences. We don't have, I mean, we may have them, but the point is it doesn't make us who we are as artists.
You went to Israel and got to go to one of the very sacred places in the world.
Mhm.
And you asked for something specific. Can you talk about that?
Well, I'm gonna give you a bit of a longer story because I think it's a fun story. So there's a place below the Wailing Wall that's called the holiest of holy places, but you have to be invited into, it's underground, and you have to be invited in. And so I happened to get there with my guide, to and it was like 3 minutes after they closed down. And there was a rabbi there that has to pick whether you're going to go in or not. But at this point, he said it's off limits because it's closed. So I did the chemistry exercise, the one that I do, the one I teach my actors how to do. So at first he's going, no, no way. And then I did the chemistry exercise, which takes like 3 seconds. And so I did it. So the rabbi went from going like, no, 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 no. They went, okay, you can go. But only you. So the chemistry exercise works. It works really, really well. And there's a exercise in the book, in the present book that's there, but more defined in the new book. But of course, you take my classes and stuff like that. I go over the specifics of how to make that happen with anybody and everybody. Anyway, that got me down there. So you really feel there's a place, it's a very small place, like the size of a little bit of a closet, and so you feel like the light around you, and it radiates of just the spirit of like holiness. I mean, it is the holiest of holy places. And I think who knew it would be so magical. So I put my hand against the wall and I gave myself one wish, and I felt the light just emanating from my arms, my hands around this moment. And I said, please, God, give me the ability, the empowerment to empower others to greatness. And that's what I asked for. And I felt it kind of enter me. And after that, my skill level just went way up. And so just that was a very important moment. That happened about, I don't know, years ago, something like that. But it was a very, very, very important. I actually got a picture. I had my guide take a picture of me leaving. You could even feel the light around me. It's just really, it was an intense experience and wonderful. But more importantly is that is my journey. A journey is to empower others to greatness, but I need to have the ability to be empowered enough to do so. And that's what I requested, and that's what I believe was given to me. And so thank you for asking the question. It's a very interesting question.
Yeah, no, I believe it was given to you before, but you came into the place to verbally ask for it.
My skill level got better, and I'm telling you, it did up the game, and but the interesting part is like the chemistry exercise working. I thought that was so funny. It's like, nope, you're not going in. And okay.
Well, you know what's wonderful about the book, as actors, we're always thinking, well, let me speak for myself. As an actor, I'm always thinking, can I use this? Can I put this here? Ooh, I'm in a situation that has nothing to do with acting, but I am going to use this little portion right now. I'm gonna bring it to attention. So the book the book is a gift.
Mhm.
It is a gift for actors who are serious about serving, because I think it's there's it teaches you how to empower yourself, but how to be a better server, to go from being a good actor to being a great actor. If you do the steps, it really transforms how you show up in the world, because it's not about the lines. It's not about, I got this part. I was reminded about that when you talked about working with Eva Mendes and in Training Day, and how she had a very small part, but because you worked with her and you layered it in, it was life transforming for her in her career.
Absolutely. But also the other thing is that we workshopped it in class. It only had 4 lines, but we still workshopped it. She was a hard worker. We workshopped it in class and went over it and over and over. She had one scene with dialogue, it was about 4 lines, and the other scene had no lines at all. And it was just her running. And so we remember her as the star of the show, of the star of the female star, but she literally only had one scene that was short and a scene that was basically her running. So it was like a smaller role. So it's like kind of the point of like the idea we made such strong choices. We made the choice that she wasn't just because also the dialogue was kind of to Ethan Hawke and Denzel is there. It's like, well, can I get you for something to eat? And he says, sure. She brings it over and she says, excuse me. And then she goes. It's like non-eventful dialogue, but we made it eventful. We made it be, we can assume that Denzel was an abusive husband, boyfriend person. So she, because of his behavior with Ethan Hawke, we never see him do anything with her other than show up with Ethan Hawke. And so we gleaned, we made assumptions. And from that, we said, okay, I want you to know that I'm special. If you're lucky to have me, so I'm going to make Ethan Hawke fall in love with me. So you can see this, that he's attracted to me, and say, listen, Buster, if you screw up one more time, I have options. And that was our thing. Of course, we personalized all that, which I don't ever reveal people's personalizations. That's why I never let anybody film my classes like ever, because it's our secret stuff. It's like the things, like all the things that people reveal in their secret, personal life is always going to remain a secret. And in fact, I ask my classes to do a vow that they will keep this take all this information they hear from other people to their grave, because I want people to feel safe emotionally. I want people to feel this is the place where they can explore things that are scary, but for their art, and to explore how to win with it through their art, and so with Ava, it was we worked really hard on 4 lines that were inconsequential lines that made them consequential, and that's why I was like, who is this woman? And why Denzel kept working with her over and over again. She did a lot of movies with Denzel.
Well, what's interesting is she only had 4 lines. The 4 lines were to another actor, it would be like, it's just
Mhm.
4 lines. It's not really a big deal. But it brings back home that there are no small parts. There are
Mhm.
no small parts. And the power of coaching, how important coaching is, that
Mhm.
actors don't really put enough credence in. It's like, I'm getting coached. I only have 5 lines, but I'm gonna go get coached because I want to show up, whether it's this role or the next role. When I go in, I want people to know my work. And that is what your class does.
But it's also impactful. We want to create an impact. So here's the thing I always say to actors. This is a really important point, and I don't make it enough, which is when actors say, "Well, I'm not going to do my work. Or I'm not going to coach, or I'm not going to like do my proper work on it. They know how to do script analysis." Is that because they didn't write? They're not writing for me, and so you know why they're not writing for you? Because you're not bringing it. Because I've had people take a tiny role and turn it into one of the regulars, one of the stars of the show, where people were just like they were recurring, or they were just a guest star, and not even a small guest star, and they turned it into one of the stars of the show because we've made everything, nothing's a throwaway. And if they're not writing for you, it's because you didn't supply them the inner work, because they read your mind. The producers and writers, which are basically the same thing, people, generally speaking, are the people who are like, okay, oh my God, I got an idea, but that idea came from what your choices you made. And then all of a sudden, there's all this new information. There's a guy that I had on Halston, whose part was just going to be here and there, and he played the lover hustler of Ewan McGregor, and we just created such like powerful need underbelly, but crazy ass behavior, because behavior is like really really important, and I just really want to win so badly that I, I end up doing these crazy physical things and crazy thoughts and that kind of stuff. So we pushed the envelope, we crossed the lines, we made really good choices that were scary choices for most actors to make. What if I do too much? Da 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 da. The overacting police are going to show up at my door. And ended up taking, they said one of the episodes was supposed to be, so well, you're not going to be in this episode, except for I think one half a scene. And they love what he was doing in the first episode so much, they ended up making that whole episode was about him. Um, this happened with another show. So many shows. This is like I could give you so many examples where the person was told that they were only going to do one episode, And the next thing they knew was they were in like all the episodes and became one of the stars of the show. And everybody was talking about that person. That person was up for an Emmy for it was a it was a victim. It was a victim in the crime, the one who gets killed. And we turned it into something so that we made it be. I always say, don't take the victim out of being a victim. I have a way of working called energy kills that allow you to like look at if you get killed, why do you want that to be the case? What are we solving by getting killed? That's an energy kill. And and so we used that, and they loved it so much they just kept writing more and more and more stuff. Created this whole thing in his killing of a memory that was that he needed to solve. I mean, they were reading his mind. What he needed to solve with a flashback of his childhood. It was so weird, and they wrote that in there. They can read your minds. We read as an audience, whether the audience is a director, casting director, or producer, or the real audience, we read your mind. We know what you're thinking about. And we also know when you're not thinking about anything. We also know when you're thinking about something that's vague and that doesn't mean anything to us. And so it's like really it's important to do all the work. And all the work then is all that work that gets getting back to Eva, all that work that we did was so much inner monologue. It was inner monologue. It wasn't obviously on the page. And so going back to you have the power, actors, to make your part be huge, to be make it be celebrated, to make people be talk about it. Or you could also take a part that's great and and then have it taken away from you, or have you get yourself killed off, or they diminish the role to something that's a non-event because you didn't do the work. You got to do the work, and you got to take risks with the choices that you make. Don't make say play safe. Play safe is for losers. I'm afraid is the reason why that whenever you say to yourself, I'm afraid, you're making the wrong choices. I'm afraid to be too big. I'm afraid that this isn't going to work. I'm afraid this choice is too dangerous. I'm afraid this choice, the director won't like it. I'm afraid anything that starts off with the I'm afraid creates a version of censorship. And the whole concept of art is freedom, right? So if we're censoring anything, that's antithetical to the freedom process of art. So anytime you say you're afraid to do something or nothing, you're going to end up making choices that are going to be vanilla. And vanilla or beige, I think, is the better choice. Beige. It's a color. It's absolutely a color. It's not a color I want to see a lot of, but beige is the color. So you played it safe because you felt, I'm afraid those words are not good. We want to make choices that, in spite of my fear, I'm going to make fearless choices. But fear has to be a part, the yin yang. Fear has to be a part of fearlessness. If you don't have fear, you won't understand fearless. But you have to try to overcome fear, not be accepting of it. That's the big difference.
I want to go to rehearsals next, and then I want to go to rehearsals. I love you talking about Brad Pitt wanting to have long rehearsals to the point where the actors in the class didn't want to work with him.
Because
And
he said he wanted to work too much.
he wanted to work too much. And what
I want to work too much. It's like every day. It's like, I don't have time to work every day. They said, well, guess who's going to make it? Guess who's not? Great story about that, by the way, with a Brad Pitt story. So a girl from class who had nice credentials was auditioning for a big agency. And she asked Brad, who had never done anything before, to do the scene with her. And remember, he'd done nothing before, but he was a good actor. And so she only wanted to rehearse once. And then he came to me, he said, she only wants to rehearse once, but this is an opportunity for me too. So we rehearsed and we rehearsed and we rehearsed without her because she didn't want to rehearse but once. Fast forward to the audition for the agent, and guess who didn't get the agent, and guess who did? Brad got the agent, she did not. And it's just the point of like the rehearsal. It's like, again, it's hard work. And I don't care if you're naturally talented. He was happened to be one of those naturally talented people, but not everybody that you know and love is. It's the hard work and the taking chances and taking risks and bold choices that make you be heralded and lauded and looked up to as someone that we want to watch more of. And also, it excites us to say, what are you going to do in your next whatever? Because I know it's going to be interesting and fun to watch, you know?
Can we talk about rehearsals for a bit?
Mhm.
Um, for actors watching, how important they are, and do you have a process to help actors with their rehearsals? So when they come back to either the camera or to the stage, that they have a good foundation because of their rehearsals.
Well, the issue with film is that they don't rehearse all that much. In theater, you have opportunity to rehearse because that's what they do for 4 to 6 weeks before you put it up. But in movies and TV, if there are rehearsals, they're really not, generally not that much. I mean, they say we're rehearsing a couple of weeks before, but basically it's camera test. So, or they may grab a couple of scenes and throw them up there, but it's not a proper rehearsal. So I always tell people to, well, first of all, even the big actors want to rehearse. I mean, they like rehearsing, the big star actors. So don't feel weird about them asking them, do you want to rehearse this, like in our hotel room or whatever, in trailer, whatever. Most of them will. But if you can't uh, get somebody to do it with you for whatever reasons, then I tell people to use a photograph of their substitution, the person that they're using, and do all their work, and then say inner work out loud, and then words on the page. Inner work, then words on the page. Inner work, then words on the page to the photograph. Look at your page because you have to fill what the other person's saying as well. So you keep because you have to fill in what you're hearing from your story that you've created, and and then you have to keep changing it off of like I'm not feeling this in this moment, so I'm going to change this in this moment. So I'm going to just rehearse this section, and you keep playing with it. It's not like a run through it all the way through, but stopping and starting and figuring out like what's compelling you to be very proactive, to be very invested, to be very engaged in this communication that you've created, and not just make choices one time and then hope that they work. Rehearsals help you come up with new ideas. They also help you come up with layers. And the thing is, we're layered. People are layered. We're information that's rich with layers. So you come up with a baseline, which is maybe your first choices. Then you start playing with it here and there in different pieces there. And some you may find that by the end of I mean, Charlize Theron used to come to me with all this work done before we even start to break down a script for an audition or for a part. And sometimes we changed it drastically, and but still the work was the layer that she had done. And sometimes we just tweaked. But the work that people, for all intents and purposes, she had done her rehearsal time by herself, and then came to me with like this try some different things out, and I became her rehearsal partner with ideas. And so, but it's really important to understand that you can't rehearse enough. It's like there's always going to be new ideas that comes in. Oh my God, da There's I can add this to it, and people say, "Can you rehearse too much?" And it's like you can't. Um, because you're always going to come up with new ideas, and the photograph thing really helps because for auditions especially, nobody's who's there to rehearse with you, but for the photograph of, and then if they I change the idea what my substitution is going to be another photograph. The beauty of technology these days, if you don't happen to have the photographs with you, you can always find them on Instagram or someplace, there's always a way to find a photograph. You have some old photographs, they're always the best. The ones, childhood things that they pop up, is like scan them and put them in your favorite part of your phone, the favorite part of your photographs. So it's easy to get to. They make a copy of it on your computer, so you're not talking to how the camera on your phone turns off, the pictures turn off. So you just have a picture in front of you. So it's really easy in this day and age, but that's the rehearsal process is key. Like
Okay.
writing is writing. I always tell people writing is rewriting. I said acting is no different. It's redoing it and redoing it and redoing it.
I want to go to script analysis because that's something that you cover in the book, and the
Mhm.
importance of reading and rereading the script.
Mhm.
Why is it so important?
It's important because we miss details. So my book is a reread and a reread and reread. So I didn't miss that the first read, or I missed that, or this is applicable to something I'm working on right now, which I missed the first 4 times that I read it because but it's so applicable. I'm noticing it. So it's like the same thing as a script. It's like it's not just people what you say in your scenes. It's how people talk about you too. So how you're being perceived by the other people when your name comes up. When your character comes up, you may feel like you're being that. If you only looked at your scenes, you may be wrong in how people perceive you gives you a lot of information. It's like if you ask somebody, if someone's mean, like this in real life, right? Do they think they're mean? No. And stupid people think they're stupid? No. So you can't say, well, this person's stupid. This person just says stupid things. But they don't think they're stupid. So, and you have to look at like how this person finds its way, not only in your dialogue and your scenes, but how other people look at you, how other people perceive you, how you're brought up other in other scenes. So the greatness is in details. And if you don't have, and one read is not going to give you the details.
Mm. Uh, you talked about judging. As actors, we are not to judge our characters.
Mhm.
What happens when you judge your character as an actor?
If you judge your character as an actor, you will make a two-dimensional character. It'll be a cartoon because your judgment is two-dimensional because you're not looking at why someone righteously does what they do. With judgment, it's that person's evil, so I'm going to play evil. But if you really look at this, why does this person do what they do? Well, because they were abused growing up, and the person that they're killing is symbolic for the person that abused them. So in their worlds, they're finding their power back in terms of the psychology of killers, is that they're trying to find their power back as adults. With children, they didn't have the power to do anything about it. As adults, they do. And so in their heads, it's righteous because I'm killing off the energy or the spirit of what abused me to the place where I am extremely unhappy. I'm suicidal. I'm all these things because you created all this in me. So I'm killing that off. And that's where the whole kind of energy kills kind of got born, was that because people who do evil things, they're not doing the evil to that person. It's symbolic. And it's symbolic to like the energy that hurt me, I'm going to hurt back. So, and because of the nature of evil behavior is based in a very childish kind of thought process, is is that you have permission to do anything, as kids don't really understand when they hurt somebody, and it can be really badly hurt somebody because that part of their psychology is not developed yet. That doesn't happen until you become 17, 18 years old, where you start to like understand life from an adult perspective. And so it's just I can go on and on. The point is you judge, you take away all all the facets that make someone do what they do, and then how that makes sense to your life, that has even more facets and more nuance and more details and mannerisms and quirks that make for a really interesting character.
Behavior. I keep coming back to behavior. To be courageous enough to use behavior with the wording, not to just most actors are talking heads. They'll just give you the lines, but there's no behavior to them. And so, can you talk a little bit about an actor's when they're creating a character, how to go into finding behavior that they can bring to to make the character come to life?
Well, a lot of that is training, because the thing is I wish I could give you a magic pill on that, but the most important things I tell people, I said, without behavior, I feel like you're a quadriplegic. You know, it's like you go down a little bit, what happened to the rest of your body? It doesn't move, you know. So it's like, and we also, I express this to people, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, now that's a cliche, and it's a cliche for a reason, because we see before we hear. I want to be able to know what's going on from my visuals. My visuals don't hear. My visuals see. So if I don't see something happening around, like my behavior is saying I'm angry because I'm brushing my hair, really like hitting my head with my brush, and I'm saying I'm fine, I'm fine. My words are saying I'm fine, but my behavior is saying I'm not. And that gives me, like, why does she or he need to hide that? What is it that they don't want to have exposed? Or maybe they want that to be exposed, but I don't want to give you the satisfaction of knowing that you're hurting my feelings. Or behavior to express what you mean so the person really gets it. So like if I want to tell you about, like, how I met this guy, and it was we fell in love at first sight, at a party. I saw him across the room. I saw him across the room, and he was like, I just knew that he was the guy. Now that's my word. So I saw him across the room. And it's like I knew he was the guy. It's like you just like it just made me feel all these things. I didn't understand where's this coming from, because, like, I don't know, there's a bunch of people between me and him, but I'm feeling him. I don't get it. First time we talk, and all of a sudden it's like we have this connection. We didn't stop talking for hours. I didn't even realize that. But you see, what I'm doing is telling you more than I met this guy.
You're drawing me in. You're drawing me in. I'm like, yeah, what happened? It's like it's very it is
It's more engaging.
yes. Yes.
And so it's like, and that's why when people tell stories, I mean, just in real life, non-actors, so just they tell stories, they physicalize. So I always tell people, when when you're talking about anything of importance, we physicalize. We don't just sit there and talk about it. We're not talking heads. And the times when we're talking heads is because we're bored. There's times when we're talking heads, it's because we're bored. Well, I don't want to watch someone be bored. I want to watch someone be excited about it, or caught up in it, or compelled by it, or high stakes. It has to be high stakes of some form or another. And high stakes situations, we physicalize. And then also, the whole idea of, remember, you see before you hear. You see before you hear. So the words don't mean very much when we're not physicalizing. We have to hyper listen, and we just don't do that. People naturally don't listen. It's just, it's a thing. I don't know why, but it's a thing. But what makes us listen is what the other person's doing to help us reel that person in. So that's why we have to go after actions and beats, making that person really want to be opened up to us, because the actions and beats are many objectives that go after your scene objective, which ultimately goes after your overall objective, which is all objective based, which means it's all active, proactive. I'm being proactive. So if I'm being proactive, I have to do things that will help make the other person be engaged, and without them having to think about it. I'm helping you reeling you in, bringing
Mm-hmm.
you in
Mm-hmm.
there. And so behavior is really, really important. And you can't be afraid to say, what if it's a close-up? I said, they'll figure it out. Just don't worry about what the camera did. They got people to do all that. I used to be a script girl, so I know that those are things that could bother, like, well, your hand was up here when you said this, and it's like, don't worry about that. They'll figure out in editing how to deal with that. They just want the best performance, not trying to help them edit easier editing, because then you're going to be going, I remember doing this at this point, and I do this at this point. It's like, that's not for you to figure out. It's like what you need to do is just do the work, go after it, and give them what most of the directors send the emails to my people saying, I'm in the editing room right now, and thank you for giving me an embarrassment of riches. Like, I don't know what to pick. I don't know what to pick. It sounds so good because, and it's all like something different. You know, so yeah, behavior is really important.
Now I want to talk about feelings
Okay.
because feelings seem to be a trap for actors. They have to feel it, they have to emote it, or my favorite, and I've been seeing this on social media so much, probably in the last year, how to cry, how to cry. And so and it's like, anyway, I have feelings about that. But in for an actor to really do their work, what are the feelings supposed to do for the actor?
Well, feelings are there to help you want with urgency and desperation your objective. Your objectives tell the story. Your feelings don't tell stories, they just drip to the ground. So if I want to tell a story, which is the basis of what acting or writing and directing is, you're telling a story with the writer and the director. You tell the same story. It creates a beginning, middle, and end. Well, there's no beginning, middle, and end to emotions. They're just chaos. It's chaos of thought, chaos of feelings. There's no logic to it. There's no linear line to it. So what you use the emotions as fuel to give more history, more urgency, and more desperation to your objective, then it's using it for a purpose. So whether you could cry or not cry is really inconsequential because you want the other person to want to cry. I mean, the other actor, it's not about me crying, it's about making you, if I want to make you feel like you did something wrong and you really screwed me up, I'm going to try to make you cry. You're guilty. I don't want you to feel guilty. So I might find myself crying naturally because it's the only way to make you feel guilty. But it's in a purpose.
It's a tool. It's not just a moment, but it's a tool to get what you need.
Well, the main point I always make to people is that the point isn't your feelings. It's the point is objectives, telling a story, telling a story, telling a story. So if you make it all about how do I cry on cue, it's like you're going to be bad because you're not going to be connecting to the other person. It's about communication, it's about interaction. It's not about living in a bubble. So if I'm opening up this, Doris, I'm thinking about the day my dog died or whatever, just to get to tears. We're disconnected from you. We're watching you going like, oh, you're crying, but we're not crying with you. The only reason when we will, as an audience, you'll cry with you is because you want something so badly in such a like profound and important place that we'll cry with you whether you're crying or not. So it's like the idea, like I don't have to cry or not cry. I have to win my objective. And whatever it takes for me to do that, if crying in this moment is going to make you get me what I want, I'm going to cry for you, but that's for a purpose. Um, or if I want to make you feel like you're not, I feel like crying, but I'm not going to let you see, I'm not going to win my objective if I let you see my tears. I'm not going to let you see that. I may end up crying after the scene is over, but the point is, I'm not going to let you see that. Which is the purpose of not feelings aren't the end result. You're telling a story is the most important thing.
I want to talk about scenes.
Mhm.
In your class, you give specific scenes.
Mhm.
In all the scenes that you give, do you give them because a lot of your tools are already in those scenes, or because you want the actors to use the tools within the scene?
I pick the scenes that helps facilitate your problem areas. If you have problem areas that you don't know how to dig deep, I'll give you one of those scenes. If your problem area is that you don't know how to go after something, obviously you have to be proactive because it doesn't work without it. If your problem area is your issues with your mother that you're not dealing with, I'll give you something that helps you deal with that to open up that world so that you can utilize that in the best possible way. So whatever your issues are is what it's very hand-picked that way. And since I have two people, I have to hand-pick and say, well, that's good for this person, but not good for this person, what they're working on. So it takes me a moment to like make sure I have a scene that supplies new information in the easiest possible way for both actors in the scene. And sometimes what I'll be doing is I'll give the scene, they're about to shoot something, and their scenes are short. There's a lot of them, but they're short. So it could be a lead in something, but a lot of movie scenes are often very short, especially in action movies. So I give them a character that's like the character in the movie that they're about to do, or the play they're about to do. Plays usually have long enough scenes, so we can just do the play. But movies and TV shows, it's like I'll give them a same character type, archetype. And then this way we're still working on the movie without having to like try to piece together a bunch of scenes that don't make sense together. Um, or I need you to understand your comedy. So I'm going to give you comedy scenes that help you understand how to do comedy, because comedy has to have drama in it, drama has to have comedy in it. So if you have a struggle with you only do drama, how to put the comedy in it. So I give you full on comedy to help you understand comedy first, and you put it in your drama. I can go on and on. There's very specific reasons why I give out scenes.
What if you have two actors that come to you for coaching for the exact same part? How do you handle it?
What I do is, because everybody's who they are as a person is different, how they negotiate life is different. I don't, like I said, don't judge a character. So I also don't judge how it's supposed to look either. So it's like how this person gets about going after getting your power back, and that's your objective, is going to be different than how this person does it. So I just trigger all the right places to help them just bring their unique selves into it. So whoever books the part is, well, it could be type, it could be they like this person's type better than the other person's type. But I often find that my people are down to the wire together because they brought in just themselves to the party. And there's people ask me another question: how do I make myself stand out? Well, there's only one you. There's only one you in the universe. So since everybody has the same idea of what it's supposed to look like, you will absolutely not be interesting because because I used to be in casting, you start to fall asleep. You're like, everybody's doing the same thing, even though you're all different. And the person who brings themselves and going after their objective in a way that they get triggered to have their quirks and their mannerisms and their things of who they are that make them special is like, that's what books you the job. That literally wakes you up. So I always tell people we want to wake people up because they see, especially with the self-tape thing, they had so many self-tapes. They literally watch 4 lines and then be done. So it's like, or they watch the whole thing because what you're bringing in it from the very beginning. Or people say, I got to work my way up to this thing. No, you don't have to work your way up. You start with the like, bam, and get people go, oh, I want to see more of this, and bring yourself to the party, bring yourself to how you go after winning whatever your objective is. And that's going to bring people to, it's going to wake them up to want to, like, they don't use you in this, they can keep you in mind. 'Cause so few people do that, um, for future reference. No good audition doesn't go without some reward.
Because of the pandemic, everything went 100% into self tapes. So when you have actors auditioning,
Mhm.
what is the thing you give them to start out with the bang? You know,
But to starting off the bang, you have to have a good moment before. The moment before, it should get you effortlessly into the first beat, because a good moment before is, it's the event, that you create that, happens before, the scene, that makes you need with urgency and desperation the objective of the scene. So you put the moment before, it should never take more than, 30 to 60 seconds to do a moment before, which again, you have to look at the book to see what that is, or take my classes, to see what that is that gets you effortlessly into it. So you say into the, and that you should use the moment before for when you're actually working too. But for self-tapes, really, really important. And then, because you could edit the moment before out, but put it in. You may find that you want to use it because it's really powerful stuff that you're doing as a moment before. My husband directed, Chris Walken in a movie, and his moment befores were so powerful that all he had to do is take the action out of in the editing room, and he ended up using Chris's moment befores and afters after, cut. And he said, just let him keep going, because he always had, like, I call it the last thought. What is your last thought? Because the scene doesn't end because you stop talking. The scene continues on, and we want to, in those self tapes, continue on. What is my thought that makes me want to go to the next scene? And so that, is very, very key in those self tapes. How you bring it in to get them, and how you end it so that they can't get you out of their head.
I think that acting is medicine, that when actors do their job, they're actually providing medicine for whoever's watching. I heard you talk about a young girl who was part of the Make a Wish Foundation and had
Mm.
read your book a bunch of times. Can you share that story?
I would love to share that story. It's a bit of a long one, but
It's okay.
okay. So, she's 14, and her wish, she was 14, and she had, cancer in her bones. And, they said that it was incredibly unlikely that, she would survive it. And, because they couldn't find a match to even do the surgery. And so her last wish was to meet me. And, the day that I was supposed to fly to Toronto, where she lived, they said they had to go into urgent surgery, and the best choice they had was her father's bone marrow, um, because it wasn't a match, but they had to do something. So she said, "Would you talk to her on the phone before the surgery?" And I said, "Of course." So I talked to her, and I said, "A bunch of adults are telling you that you're going to die. Now, this is not a match, and probably you're going to die. Now, do you think that there's some reason why you need to stay alive, something important that you need to do for the world?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, you can't do that if you're dead, can you?" And she said, "No." And I said, "So screw those adults." Adults have adult thinking. They always want to, they're negative. I said, "You have something important to do. You got to be alive to do it. So make that happen." And, she said, "Okay." And then she went to surgery. I got a call 2 weeks later from the Make-A-Wish Foundation person that contacted me saying the miracle happened. She's in remission. It it worked, even though it wasn't a match. So she changed her wish to come to LA to work, and, to do a monthly class. Said, of course. And so she came, and she came to find out through the work why she got, this particular cancer. and then cancer at all, because she was 12 when she first got diagnosed. At 12 years old, she was molested by her sister's boyfriend. And then when she told her sister and her parents, they said she's crazy, that never happened. So the boyfriend was picked over her. So she was made to feel that that was her fault. She still was, suffering from, she was feeling like the victim. All of a sudden her body started falling apart. Because there's proof in science that that your psyche first is a psychological issue, and then it becomes it manifests itself to some physical thing. And so that's what happened. And so when we started using that to use that particular thing to say, screw you, I'm going to win in spite of it because of you concept again, is that she then became like, it's not even in her body anymore. I mean, like she's now in her 20s. So it's like it's like not even telltale like that she ever had it. Because we worked on the problem within her work and to see this, she could use it to create art from. And so a sidebar on all that, which is like it's wonderful because she's an amazing little girl and now woman, and then probably outlive us all because she's a fighter. Um, is that whenever you play somebody who has a disease, know where it came from. What's the psychology that would cause that particular organ to have cancer? Different organs have different needs. For example, breast cancer. Breast is about the lack of nurture. So I mean, breast is about nurture. So if you have breast cancer, chances are you have issues with a lack of nurture. Heart disease is obvious, heartbreak, so but you could kind of you could backtrack to whatever disease you have as the performer, and you can actually figure out how to make it real for yourself by tackling the issue that would make sense to the character's disease, and then you supply the personalization for yours, and all of a sudden it feels real that you have this thing that you have to overcome instead of faking it.
You talk about prosperity also a lot. The prosperity physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Where did you come up with that when, as you were working on your working on the tools? Where did that come from for you?
Well, it's fairly new sentence. Sometimes you have to boil things down, not say things in a soundbite, as opposed to saying things in two paragraphs. And so people get it easier, especially in this world we live in of social media, is like everything has to be shortened up to a clip or a quick picture or whatever. It's like, so it came up with that as a sentence to put it all together to make sense. So it's like pain equals prosperity, whether it's emotional, spiritual, or actual. That was fast. It was just a fast way to say the same thing I say for lots of paragraphs.
And no, because I heard it a couple of times. I was like, "Ooh, I like that. That's good. That is good." And you had referenced oh God, Napoleon Hill's book, um, and how only 5% of the people actually use it. You talk about learning, that you're always learning, and when you die you're still going to find a way to learn, which I love. But learning, and how not just consuming what you learn but implementing it, which I think is such a profound statement, and so low key at the same time, in that people go, well, I read that, yeah, but what did you learn from it, and how did you move it, how did you use it to move you? And so when actors are reading your book, what would you like them to implement from the book?
Well, I think the main thing is that you have the power of choice, and so make choices that will help you be proactive in making whatever it is you want to have happen come true. And that's, I think the main thing is you have the power. It's just a choice to use it or not to use it. And so I think life is filled with choices, and you have that choice to be able to say, like, I can do this. Remember, it's like success is the path of most resistance. Not getting what you want, being defeated is the path of least resistance. It's easy to go, I give up. So that's so you have to, the path of least resistance is like it's an easy sunny day and I'm going to be defeated, walking through my defeated self-destructive way, or I have, like, it's raining and it's hailing and there's snakes out there and there's brambles hitting you in the face as you walk down your journey, and it's like, then you say, well, you know what, on the end of that journey is satisfaction. At the end of I was able to get through this, and this to get there. And there's a satisfaction is why people like to do extreme sports, or like to watch them, because it's like I'm watching somebody or being myself the participant. It's like I did all this, and I faced down the possibility of a horrible death doing it, but I did, and I got to the top of Mount Everest, and I won. And so now onto that, raise the bar and see what your next thing you want to win is. I always call it like raise the bar, meet the bar, raise the bar again, meet the bar, raise the bar again, and keep on going till you're done. I mean, like, done.
It doesn't stop. Without telling me necessarily who the actor was, but have you ever come up against an actor who just felt like they were not going to break through? We're not going to, because we're talking about continuing and going, even when it looks bad, and then finally getting a win.
Well, here's the thing. Chances are you're never going to know who these people's names are anyway. Those people that aren't just open to, like, exploring whatever are people that are generally not going to succeed in whatever it is they're trying to succeed in, relationships, career, whatever. So I could give you some stories of people who refuse to open up or refuse to believe that they've had any kind of turmoil in their life. Like, life happens. There's turmoil, even if it's maybe it's the same as major as, like, some of my stuff. But you've had turmoil. Life happens. Someone dies accidentally, and it's an accident, or someone dies because they have cancer, or you have, like, a heartbreak from a lover that you thought loved you back as much. Life happens, So it's the idea that you say everything's fine, and it's like, well, you know what? That's good. I'm glad that you feel that way. The problem is that stuff is ends up festering because it is there. It's just if you're not utilizing it to overcome with, then it sits inside of your body and hurts you. And so I said, and then I always ask, I said, why do you want to be an actor? Because actors love expressing themselves to a fault, to a fault. Like, you want to hear my story? You want to hear my story? Let me cry. So I tell you, the story makes me cry every time. Let me tell you that story. So I said, if you're not that kind of person, it's like maybe you shouldn't be an actor. Because it's not my job. I'm not your therapist, and, like, I don't want to be your therapist. I want to show you how you can use your pain for prosperity, as opposed to being able for me to open you up if you don't want to. This is like, I want you to want this. I want you to have fun, and if you're not having fun, I always say, if you're not having fun, you've made the wrong choices. We want to have fun. We want to have our audience have fun. It is called the entertainment business. Let's entertain people, and overcoming our pain and, like, winning in spite of it because of and overcoming major obstacles is fun. It's fun, no matter how dark the piece is. It's fun. And if you're not, and if I have to like, break, if I have to keep punching into that rock that doesn't want to be punctured, it's like, it's not fun for me. It's not fun for you. So maybe you shouldn't be doing it because all techniques require some version of being open, so it's like maybe it's imagination, or maybe it's like, but I like to use as truth because we have so much to call from being human. We have all the years that we've been on this planet to call from. It's like that gives you riches, lots, an infinite amount of information to use. So that's why I use that, because it's the easiest, I think, to just trigger, oops, trigger, boom, 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 trigger, 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 and then we're done. We don't have to imagine to the point where we are um, trying to feel all these things. You get in your head that way. Anyway, if I have to punch somebody, and I don't mean physically, but if I have to keep
Right.
breaking the thing and stabbing them until they open up, I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to have fun. I love doing what I do. And so if I'm not having fun, I'm not enjoying this process. And sometimes it just takes like a couple of sessions to get somebody to open up. But if it takes like literally where that person is like sticking their heels in and not wanting to open up, it's like and I can. I'm pretty good at opening up anybody, but I don't want to do that to somebody, So and again, the people that I've helped with the getting awards, getting stardom, that kind of stuff, none of them were like that. They were like so open, so fast. It was like a ripe melon. You go like this, and wow, we're open. It was easy. And that's what I knew that like these people would be like, they were to be stars. There was just no question.
It reminds me of Sylvester Stallone. Here was a superstar who realized, hey, my stuff isn't working anymore, and came to you for Creed to
Mhm.
help him find a new path. I loved that. First of all, I love when older actors who have already reached the pinnacle
Mhm.
go, that's not enough. I want more. And I want to explore new areas. How did he come to you?
I don't know. He called me and he just literally made a cold call and got my number from I don't know who. And because he said, "Hello, this is Sly. You know, nice to know." So then he talked about how he said, "I feel like my work has atrophied," his words, and I just feel like you can help me find my way to getting back to where I was and maybe then some. And uh, and so I said, well, let's do it. And then that was it. And I find that the people that are like Sly are people like who were already stars when they came to me, because the Halle Berry was already a star when she came to me. I helped her with Monsters Ball to change her life, in terms of how her respect factor, but she was a really good actress and already a star. Is that they're so humble. She also made a cold call. I hope it's okay. But would you work with me? I have this thing coming up. And then it was like so humble and so sweet. And still to this day, we work together, but also he's my friend too, as is like as most of these people are. But they're so humble and they just want to be good. They want to be proud of their own work. And I think these are the kinds of people that would make sense to finding my technique empowering to them as well.
I I think for any actor who is watching this, you must get this book, The Power of the Actor, because it will change your thinking. It will change how you come to an audition, and it will also remind you to be of service, to go for the goal. It's not that you win, but it's the act of going to win that's important, and it's throughout the whole book. You do such a fine job, Ivana, of reminding the actor, Go for the win. Set yourself up with the best choices, hot choices, take risks, show up, show up and do above and beyond what is expected of you. Don't come in 10 minutes before you have to do the scene, and now you're going to do the scene and you've never really investigated the scene. So I am so grateful for you. First of all, I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to be in your class, to get to use the tools, and I use them to this day. They are with me. They inform my work. They inform just my life on a lot of levels. And so I love the fact that this book is a self-help book for people who are not actors. And I love the fact that you bring such good medicine, not only to actors here in Hollywood, but all over the world. That has taken so much work. That you have worked so hard, because you work hard. You are a blessing to us. You are a blessing to our community. You are a blessing to this world. And I'm glad that I know you. So thank you for all you do for us. I love you. I just think you are a badass woman. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got a lot from what Ivana was talking about, because she is the best and you got to hear her. So let us know what you think and share it with your friends. And don't go anywhere, because we have another fantastic video for you. This one is from Andrea Romano. She is one of the premier voice directors in the world, and she is giving you a master class on how to do voiceovers. So let's go.